Hey guys, what's up? Waving hand. Today I've got a brand new story for you. The name of the story is The Endless Records of Time. It's not about adventures, not about battles, not about heroes. It's a boring history of sacks of wheat counted every year, of coins stored in a wooden chest, of dusty and muddy roads, and of a door that never changed its brown color. So, let's begin the most boring history ever told. The wheat, the bell, and the market. The town existed. It was not large, and it was not small. It was simply a town. The records began in the year 1247, when a clerk named Ulrich sat at a wooden table and dipped his quill into ink. He began to write. He did not write quickly. He did not write slowly. He wrote at a steady pace, one word after another, one number after another, one detail after another. He wrote about wheat. He wrote that in the year 1247, there were 317 sacks of wheat harvested. He wrote that the sacks were stored in a barn. The barn was wooden. The roof was also wooden. The floor was dirt. The sacks were heavy. Each sack was mentioned. Sack 1, Sack 2, Sack 3, all the way until Sack 317. In 1248, he wrote that there were 318 sacks of wheat, one more than the year before. He described that the sacks looked very similar to the sacks of the year before. They were brown, they were rough, they were tied at the top with rope. In 1249, the wheat harvest returned to 317 sacks. The clerk noted that the number had decreased by one. He did not explain why. He did not need to explain why. It was simply written. 317 sacks. In the marketplace, there were stalls. The stalls were counted. There were 42 stalls. Each stall had a number. Stall 1 sold salt. Stall 2 sold grain. Stall 3 sold wool. Stall 4 also sold wool. Stall 5 sold fish. Stall 6 sold more grain. Stall 7 sold leather. Stall 8 sold wool again. The stalls did not change in order. The stalls did not change in size. The stalls did not change in sellers. Every year, the stalls were described in the records. The names of sellers were written. The names did not change. The records grew longer. The church bell was also described. The bell weighed 246 kilograms. It was bronze. It rang 7 times on feast days. The clerk wrote this carefully. He wrote the weight. He wrote the sound. He wrote the number of rings. In 1250, the council met. They discussed whether the bell should ring 7 times or 8 times. The discussion took many hours. The record says that Heinrich argued for 7, while Peter argued for 8. Finally, it was decided. 8 rings. The clerk wrote, "On feast days, the bell shall ring 8 times." In 1251, the bell rang 8 times. The clerk wrote it again. In 1252, it rang 8 times again. He wrote it again. In 1253, the same. The ink dried. The pages turned. Nothing changed, but everything was recorded. The roads of the town were described. The main road was straight. It was not too long and not too short. It was paved with uneven stones. In summer, the road was dusty. In autumn, it was muddy. In winter, it was muddy again. In spring, it was damp. Every year, the same road was written about. The words repeated: dust, mud, damp, mud. The population was also counted. In 1254, there were 2,423 people. In 1255, there were 2,424. In 1256, the number returned to 2,423. The records listed names. Name after name. Born. Died married. The lists were long. The lists were ordinary. The lists grew longer every year. By 1260, the number of wheat sacks was again 318. In 1261, it was 319. In 1262, it was 318. The pattern continued. The clerk filled page after page with sacks, stalls, bells, numbers, names, roads. In 1265, a roof on a market stall broke during a storm. The record says, the roof was repaired. In 1266, the roof broke again. The record says, the roof was repaired again. In 1267, the roof broke once more. The record says, the roof was repaired again. This continued for many years. The stall did not fall. The stall did not change. The stall was repaired, written down, and forgotten. By 1270, Ulrich grew old. His handwriting grew slower. Still he wrote. He wrote about sacks. He wrote about stalls. He wrote about bells. He wrote about mud. He wrote about roofs. He wrote about numbers. Nothing was exciting. Nothing was new. Everything was recorded. A new clerk appeared. His name was Heinrich. Heinrich copied the style of Ulrich. Heinrich wrote slowly. Heinrich wrote carefully. Heinrich recorded sacks. Heinrich recorded stalls. Heinrich recorded bells. Heinrich recorded mud. Heinrich recorded roofs. Heinrich recorded numbers. The years rolled forward. 1271, 1272, 1273. The sacks were counted. The stalls were counted. The bell was weighed. The road was measured. The people were listed. The mud was described. By 1280, the marketplace had 45 stalls instead of 42. 3 new stalls had been built. They sold wool. The records wrote, 3 new stalls. Wool was sold. Nothing more was said. Nothing else happened. In 1281, the bell was measured again. Still 246 kilograms. Still bronze. Still 8 rings. Still written. In 1282, the road was measured again. Still straight. Still dusty. Still muddy. Still damp. Still muddy. The record repeated the same words, the same details, the same descriptions. The pages grew thicker. The ink grew darker in some places, faded in others. The records filled boxes. The boxes filled rooms. The rooms grew heavy with the weight of words. The words were always the same. Wheat, sacks, stalls, wool, salt, leather, fish, coins, bell, rings, road, dust, mud, damp, mud. By 1290, the town counted 2,431 people. In 1291, 2,430. In 1292, 2,432. The numbers were written down. Nothing else was written. Nothing else needed to be written. By the year 1293, the records had become heavier than the stories of the people themselves. The clerk Heinrich did not mind. He was patient. He wrote as Ulrich had written before him. He copied the same tone, the same slowness, the same ordinary care. In that year, the wheat sacks were 319. In the next year, 318. The difference of one sack was given as much weight on the parchment as if it were the difference between kingdoms rising and falling. Yet it was only one sack. Nothing changed. The council met again in 1295. They discussed the market stalls. One stall had changed ownership. The record says, stall number 22, once belonging to Otto, is now belonging to Wilhelm. Nothing else was written. The stall still sold wool. The wool was still ordinary. By 1296, the bell was checked again. Still 246 kilograms. Still bronze. Still ringing 8 times on feast days. The record carefully wrote, the bell rang 8 times. The same phrase had been written for more than 40 years. The phrase would be written for many more years. In 1298, the population count was repeated. The number of people was 2,429, a small drop from the year before. The clerk did not explain. He did not need to. It was simply written, 2,429. By 1300, the records had filled 6 wooden boxes. The boxes were labeled by year. The years were written in faded ink. The lids creaked when opened. Dust rose. Inside were pages. Page after page, sack after sack, stall after stall, bell after bell, road after road, number after number. In 1301, a new road was built. It connected the town to another village. The record says, a road was built. No further details. By 1302, the road was measured. It was long enough to reach the other town. It was straight enough to walk. It was wide enough for a cart. In 1303, the road was measured again. The record says, it is still the same road. Meanwhile, the market stalls remained. Stall 1, salt. Stall 2, grain. Stall 3, wool. Stall 4, wool. Stall 5, fish. Stall 6, grain. Stall 7, leather. Stall 8, wool. Stall 9, vegetables. Stall 10, shoes. Each stall was written about every year, even if nothing changed. The lists grew longer. In 1305, a minor event was written down. A door of the council hall was painted brown. The record says, the door is brown. In 1306, the record says, the brown paint has faded slightly. In 1307, the record says, the door remains brown. In 1308, the record says, the door is still brown. The door remained brown for decades. The records repeated this fact endlessly. By 1310, another clerk had taken over. His name was Otto. Otto did not change the style. Otto continued to write as Heinrich had written. Otto continued to write as Ulrich had written. Wheat, stalls, bells, roads, people, doors, roofs, mud, numbers. In 1312, the bell rang 8 times. In 1313, it rang 8 times again. In 1314, it rang 8 times again. In 1315, the same. The wheat continued to be harvested. 318 sacks in 1316. 319 sacks in 1317. 317 sacks in 1318. The numbers circled endlessly. The people continued to be counted. 2,430 in 1319. 2,431 in 1320. 2,432 in 1321. Then back to 2,430 in 1322. The difference was always 1 or 2. It was always written carefully. The roofs of the stalls were still breaking and being repaired. Roof repaired was written so many times that the page became a chant of monotony. Roof repaired, roof repaired, roof repaired. Again, again, and again. By 1325, the record described the seasons once more. Summer, dusty roads. Autumn, muddy roads. Winter, muddy roads. Spring, damp roads. The same words repeated year after year. The years rolled forward. 1326, 1327, 1328, 1329, 1330. Nothing new, nothing different, nothing exciting. Only wheat, wool, salt, bells, mud, doors, roofs, stalls, numbers. In 1331, Otto counted the stalls again. There were still 45. Each stall was listed by number. Each number was listed by goods. The list was exactly the same as before. In 1333, the bell was weighed again. Still 246 kilograms. Still bronze. Still ringing 8 times. Still unchanged. By 1335, the pages of the record had reached 1,000. The clerk numbered them one by one. Page 1,000 was exactly the same as page 1. Wheat, sacks, stalls, roads, bells, mud, people. In 1340, the door of the council hall was painted again. The record says, the door is brown. In 1341, the record says, the door remains brown. In 1342, the record says, the door is still brown. The words echoed the earlier years exactly. The people reading the records, if anyone ever read them, must have felt the weight of repetition. But the clerks wrote without pause, without excitement, without change. By the middle of the 1340s, Otto's handwriting had begun to slow. Yet the style never changed. Each year looked like the year before. Each page looked like the page before. The routine was endless, and the record was endless. In 1343, the wheat harvest was 318 sacks. In 1344, it was 319 sacks. In 1345, it was 317 sacks. The words were the same. The wheat was harvested. It was placed in sacks. The sacks were counted. The sacks were stored. The stalls were the same. Stall 1 salt. Stall 2 grain. Stall 3 wool. Stall 4 wool. Stall 5 fish. Stall 6 grain. Stall 7 leather. Stall 8 wool. Stall 9 vegetables. Stall 10 shoes. The numbers and items repeated like a chant. The bell was the same. Still 246 kilograms. Still bronze. Still 8 rings. Every year, the bell rang 8 times. Nothing else was added. Nothing else was needed. In 1346, the population was 2,429. In 1347, it was 2,430. In 1348, it was 2,431. The clerk did not pause to explain why. The clerk simply wrote. The roads were the same. Summer, dust. Autumn, mud. Winter, mud. Spring, damp. The council met again in 1349. The topic, the marketplace roofs. They discussed whether the roofs should be repaired with wooden planks or straw. After hours of talk, the decision was wooden planks. The record says, the roofs were repaired with planks. In 1350, the record says, the roofs were repaired again. By 1351, the population was counted once more. The record says, 2,431. In 1352 it says, 2,430. The fluctuation of 1 or 2 was written each year as if it were the turning of empires. By 1355, the market stalls were listed once again. Stall 1 salt. Stall 2 grain. Stall 3 wool. Stall 4 wool. Stall 5 fish. Stall 6 grain. Stall 7 leather. Stall 8 wool. Stall 9 vegetables. Stall 10 shoes. The list never ended. The records became heavier, but not richer. Thicker, but not deeper. Longer, but not more meaningful. In 1360, another clerk appeared. His name was Peter. Peter did not change the system. He continued what Ulrich had begun, what Heinrich had continued, what Otto had extended. Wheat, stalls, bells, roads, mud, people, doors, roofs, names, numbers. In 1361, the wheat sacks were 318. In 1362, 319. In 1363, 318 again. The bell was still 246 kilograms. The bell still rang 8 times. The roads were still dusty in summer, muddy in autumn, muddy in winter, damp in spring. In 1365, the council hall door was painted again. The record says, the door is brown. In 1366, the record says, the door remains brown. In 1367, the record says, the door is still brown. In 1370, the stalls were written again. Each one listed by number. Each number matched with goods. Nothing changed. Everything was the same. In 1375, the record says, the wheat was harvested, 317 sacks. In 1376, 318 sacks. In 1377, 319 sacks. By 1380, the population was 2,432. By 1381, it was 2,430. By 1382, it was 2,431. The cycle continued. The years passed. 1383, 1384, 1385, 1386, Each page recorded the same things. Each word mirrored the last. The book of the town grew larger, but the story remained small. By 1390, the record had filled more than 2,000 pages. Still the same: wheat, wool, salt, bells, mud, roofs, brown doors, numbers. By 1395, Peter grew old. His handwriting shook. Still he wrote. Still he repeated. Still he counted. Still he listed. Still he described. Nothing new, nothing exciting, nothing grand. At the dawn of the 1400s, the record was passed to yet another clerk. His name was Wilhelm. Wilhelm took up the quill. Wilhelm dipped it in ink. Wilhelm continued. Wilhelm's handwriting was neat at first. The ink flowed evenly. The numbers looked steady. He followed the same format, the same lines, the same dull patience. In 1401 he wrote, "The wheat harvest was 318 sacks. The sacks were placed in the barn. The barn roof did not leak. The barn walls were wooden. The barn floor was dirt." In 1402 he wrote, "The wheat harvest was 319 sacks. The sacks were placed in the barn. The barn roof did not leak. The barn walls were wooden. The barn floor was dirt." In 1403 he wrote, "The wheat harvest was 317 sacks. The sacks were placed in the barn. The barn roof did not leak. The barn walls were wooden. The barn floor was dirt." The words repeated. The pattern repeated. The years repeated. The stalls were listed again. Stall 1 salt. Stall 2 grain. Stall 3 wool. Stall 4 wool. Stall 5 fish. Stall 6 grain. Stall 7 leather. Stall 8 wool. Stall 9 vegetables. Stall 10 shoes. In 1405, stall number 12 changed owners. The record says, "Stall number 12, once belonging to Martin, now belongs to Carl. It continues to sell candles." That was all. In 1406, the bell was weighed again. Still 246 kilograms. Still bronze. Still ringing 8 times. The clerk's words echoed. The bell rang 8 times. The council hall door was painted in 1407. The record says, "The door is brown." In 1408, it says, "The door remains brown." In 1409, it says, "The door is still brown." The road was measured in 1410. The record says, "The road is straight. The stones are uneven. In summer it is dusty. In autumn it is muddy. In winter it is muddy. In spring it is damp." By 1412, the population was 2,431. In 1413, it was 2,430. In 1414, it was 2,432. Again the difference of 1 or 2. Again the same writing. Again the same lists. The clerk grew older. His ink grew slower. Still he wrote. In 1415, the record says, "The wheat harvest was 318 sacks." In 1416, the record says, "The wheat harvest was 319 sacks." In 1417, the record says, "The wheat harvest was 317 sacks." In 1418, the council roof leaked. The record says, "The roof was repaired." In 1419, the roof leaked again. The record says, "The roof was repaired again." In 1420, the roof leaked once more. The record says, "The roof was repaired again." By 1425, Wilhelm's records filled more than 500 pages. By 1430, more than 1,000. By 1440, more than 2,000. Still the same sacks, the same stalls, the same bells, the same mud. The endless monotony became the identity of the town itself. Nothing was remembered except numbers. Nothing was remembered except lists. In 1450, a new clerk took over. His name was Andreas. He did not innovate. He did not shorten. He did not change. He continued. The wheat was harvested. 318 sacks. 319 sacks. 317 sacks. The bell rang 8 times. The road was dusty, muddy, damp, muddy. The door is brown. The door remains brown. The door is still brown. Page after page. Year after year. Life written as repetition. History written as boredom. The records did not end. The clerks did not stop. The story of the town remained the same. After the wheat, after the stalls, after the bells, came the coins. The town did not have many coins, but it had enough to be counted. And the clerks, patient as always, wrote them down. In the year 1451, Andreas the clerk opened his record book. He wrote, "This year the council collected 1,243 coins." In 1452 he wrote, "This year the council collected 1,244 coins." In 1453 he wrote, "This year the council collected 1,243 coins again." The difference of one coin was recorded with the same seriousness as the rise and fall of empires elsewhere. Yet in this town it was only one coin. The coins were described. Some were round. Some were slightly less round. Some were shiny. Some were dull. Some were heavy. Some were light. The clerk listed them in long lines. One coin, smooth edges. One coin, rough edges. One coin, faded mark. One coin, clear mark. By the end of the year, the description of coins filled many pages. In 1454, the record says, the total coins were 1,246. In 1455, 1,245. In 1456, 1,243. Each number stood alone. Each number was written as carefully as the wheat sacks and the market stalls. Meanwhile, the market continued. Stall 1, salt. Stall 2, grain. Stall 3, wool. Stall 4, wool. Stall 5, fish. Stall 6, grain. Stall 7, leather. Stall 8, wool. Stall 9, vegetables. Stall 10, shoes. Nothing changed. Still, everything was listed. The bell continued as well. Still 246 kilograms. Still bronze. Still 8 rings. Still written every year. In 1460, the clerk wrote about the storage chest of coins. The chest was wooden. The lock was iron. The hinges creaked. The coins inside made a dull sound when moved. This description was copied again in 1461. The chest is wooden. The lock is iron. The hinges creak. The coins make a dull sound. In 1462, the same words were written once more. The road was measured again in 1463. Still straight. Still uneven stones. Still dusty in summer. Still muddy in autumn. Still muddy in winter. Still damp in spring. The clerk repeated the pattern like a prayer. The population was counted in 1464. 2,430. In 1465, 2,431. In 1466, 2,432. The fluctuation of one person each year filled entire pages. The records were heavy, but the subject was light. In 1470, a note was written. The coins were tested. They were genuine. In 1471, another note. The coins were tested again. They were still genuine. In 1472, once more, the coins were tested again. They were still genuine. The clerk did not change his words. He did not shorten them. He repeated them. He stretched them across the years until the repetition itself became the history. By 1480, the chest of coins had been described more than 30 times. The words were always the same. Wooden. Iron. Creaking. Dull sound. In 1485, the wheat sacks were counted again. 318. In 1486, 319. In 1487, 317. The cycle of wheat returned, mixing with the cycle of coins. The people of the town lived their lives, but the records of the clerks never captured their joys or sorrows. The records only captured numbers. coins, sacks, stalls, bells, roads, doors, roofs, mud. By the year 1490, the records had grown into 10 wooden boxes. The boxes were stacked in the council hall. Dusk gathered. Few people opened them. Few people read them. But the clerk still wrote. By 1491, the clerk Andreas had grown older, yet his style of writing did not change. The first line of the record that year says, "The number of coins collected this year was 1,244. The coins were stored in the chest. The chest is wooden. The lock is iron. The hinges creak. The coins make a dull sound." In 1492, the exact same words were written again. The number was slightly different, but the description was the same. The number of coins collected this year was 1,243. The coins were stored in the chest. The chest is wooden. The lock is iron. The hinges creak. The coins make a dull sound. By 1493, the number was 1,245. The description was the same. In 1494, the number was 1,244. Again, the description was the same. The record books filled with these small numbers and repeated phrases. The stalls of the market were listed again in 1495. The list had not changed in more than 100 years. Stall 1, salt. Stall 2, grain. Stall 3, wool. Stall 4, wool. Stall 5, fish. Stall 6, grain. Stall 7, leather. Stall 8, wool. Stall 9, vegetables. Stall 10, shoes. The clerk added, "The stalls remain in their places." He repeated the same note in 1496, and again in 1497. The bell rang. It always rang. The clerk always wrote. In this year, the bell weighed 246 kilograms. It was bronze. It rang 8 times on feast days. These words were written every year without change, from 1490 to 1500 and beyond. In 1498, the record says, "The population is 2,430. In 1499, it says, "The population is 2,431. In 1500, it says, "The population is 2,432. Each year, the fluctuation of one person was treated as a full entry. The clerk listed the births, listed the deaths, wrote the names in long lines that stretched across the page. By 1501, Andreas was too old to write. A new clerk was chosen. His name was Conrad. Conrad studied the old records. He decided to continue in the same way. He did not change a word. He did not change a style. He did not change a thought. In 1502, Conrad wrote, "The number of coins collected was 1,244. The chest is wooden. The lock is iron. The hinges creak. The coins make a dull sound." In 1503, Conrad wrote, "The number of coins collected was 1,245. The chest is wooden. The lock is iron. The hinges creak. The coins make a dull sound." The repetition carried forward into the new century. The road was measured in 1504. The record says, "The road is straight. It has uneven stones. In summer it is dusty. In autumn it is muddy. In winter it is muddy. In spring it is damp." The road was measured again in 1505, and the same words were written again. By 1506, the stalls were checked. They were the same. By 1507, the bell was checked. It was the same. By 1508, the coins were checked. They were the same. Every year became the same. In 1510, the council door was painted again. The record says, "The door is brown." In 1511, the record says, "The door remains brown." In 1512, the record says, "The door is still brown." By 1515, Conrad's record books had already filled more than 200 pages. Each page contained almost nothing new, but the words carried on. The wheat harvests were added once again. 318 sacks, 319 sacks, 317 sacks. The cycle was unbroken. The coins continued to be written. 1,243, 1,244. 1,245, the cycle was unbroken. The bell continued to be written. Bronze, 246 kilograms, 8 rings. The cycle was unbroken. By 1520, Conrad had already copied hundreds of the same sentences. Yet he never stopped. The clerks believed the act of writing itself was more important than the thing being written. And so the book of coins and taxes went on. In 1521, Conrad the clerk opened his book and began as he always did. The number of coins collected this year was 1,244. The coins were stored in the chest. The chest is wooden. The lock is iron. The hinges creak. The coins make a dull sound. In 1522, the record says, the number of coins collected this year was 1,243. The coins were stored in the chest. The chest is wooden. The lock is iron. The hinges creak. The coins make a dull sound. The phrases did not change. The style did not change. The words were carried across years like stones dragged across a flat field. By 1525, Conrad's book had dozens of identical lines. The numbers of coins shifted slightly, but the sentences were the same. 1,245 coins, 1,244 coins, 1,243 coins. Always the same chest, always the same lock, always the same hinges, always the same dull sound. The wheat was added in parallel. 318 sacks in 1526, 319 in 1527, 317 in 1528. The pattern had become its own rhythm. The market stalls were added again. Stall 1 salt, stall 2 grain, stall 3 wool, stall 4 wool, stall 5 fish, stall 6 grain, stall 7 leather, stall 8 wool, stall 9 vegetables, stall 10 shoes. The clerk copied the list each year without change. The population was also recorded. In 1530, 2,430. In 1531, 2,431. In 1532, 2,432. The differences were minor, but the words were long. Names were listed again and again. The bell rang 8 times. Each year, the bell weighed 246 kilograms. It was bronze. It rang 8 times. The council hall door was painted again in 1533. The record says, the door is brown. In 1534 it says, the door remains brown. In 1535 it says, the door is still brown. The roof of the council hall leaked in 1536. The record says, the roof was repaired. In 1537 it leaked again. The record says, the roof was repaired again. In 1538, it leaked once more. The record says, the roof was repaired again. The repetition filled page after page. The clerk did not grow tired, or if he did not show it. His pen scratched the same words across parchment without pause. By 1540, the town had been recording for nearly 300 years. The subjects had not changed. Wheat, coins, bells, roads, doors, roofs, stalls, people. The years went forward. 1541, 1542, 1543, 1544, 1545. Each one carried the same entries. Coins, sacks, bells, roads, numbers. The coins remained around the same total. 1,243, 1,244, 1,245. The clerk continued to describe each batch. 1 coin with faded edges, 1 coin with a dull shine, 1 coin with a clear stamp, 1 coin nearly smooth. These descriptions stretched the records, though they added nothing new. By 1550, the record contained more than 500 identical entries about coins alone. The wheat had another 500 entries. The bell had another 500. The roads had another 500. The doors had another 500. The cycle of dullness was complete. In 1551, a new clerk began. His name was Hans. He looked at the old records. He saw the words of Ulrich, Heinrich, Otto, Peter, Andreas, and Conrad. He saw the same numbers, the same phrases, the same details. He did not stop. He did not change. He continued. The coins were collected. 1,244. The coins were collected. 1,243. The coins were collected. 1,245. The chest is wooden. The lock is iron. The hinges creak. The coins make a dull sound. The style of the town became the style of its writing. Endless, repetitive, unchanging. Hans, the new clerk, was younger than Conrad, but he learned the same rhythm quickly. He opened his record book in 1552 and began as if nothing had ever changed. The number of coins collected this year was 1,244. The coins were stored in the chest. The chest is wooden. The lock is iron. The hinges creak. The coins make a dull sound. In 1553 he wrote, "The number of coins collected this year was 1,245. The coins were stored in the chest. The chest is wooden. The lock is iron. The hinges creak. The coins make a dull sound." In 1554 he wrote, "The number of coins collected this year was 1,243. The coins were stored in the chest. The chest is wooden. The lock is iron. The hinges creak. The coins make a dull sound." And so it went on. By 1555, the description of coins had already filled several dozen pages. Still, Hans repeated them. He listed coins one by one. Coin 1 with scratches. Coin 2 with faded shine. Coin 3 with clear stamp. Coin 4 with almost no stamp. The wheat was not forgotten. In 1556, it was 318 sacks. In 1557, 319. In 1558, 317. The same cycle. The bell continued. The record says in 1559, the bell weighed 246 kilograms. It was bronze. It rang 8 times. The same line appeared again in 1560, in 1561, and in every year thereafter. The stalls remained unchanged. Stall 1 salt. Stall 2 grain. Stall 3 wool. Stall 4 wool. Stall 5 fish. Stall 6 grain. Stall 7 leather. Stall 8 wool. Stall 9 vegetables. Stall 10 shoes. The same list was copied each year without a single difference. By 1565, Hans had copied nearly 150 pages of the same words. His book looked almost identical to the books of Conrad, Andreas, Peter, Otto, Heinrich, and Ulrich before him. The population was also written. 2,431 in 1566. 2,430 in 1567. 2,432 in 1568. The names were listed. Dozens of lines. Dozens of ordinary names. The same families repeated across generations. The road was measured again in 1570. The record says, "The road is straight. The stones are uneven. In summer it is dusty. In autumn it is muddy. In winter it is muddy. In spring it is damp." In 1571, the same words were written again. In 1572, the same again. The council hall door was painted again in 1573. The record says, "The door is brown." In 1574 it says, "The door remains brown." In 1575 it says, "The door is still brown." The roof leaked again in 1576. The record says, "The roof was repaired." In 1577, the roof leaked again. The record says, "The roof was repaired again." By 1580, Hans had filled more than 400 pages of records. Every page repeated the same small facts. Coins, sacks, stalls, bells, doors, roofs, roads, mud, numbers, names. In 1585 he wrote once more. The number of coins collected this year was 1,244. The coins were stored in the chest. The chest is wooden. The lock is iron. The hinges creak. The coins make a dull sound. By 1590, Hans grew older. His handwriting grew shaky, but he continued, year after year, line after line. In 1591, a new clerk appeared. His name was Jacob. He saw the long line of books that came before him. He opened a fresh page. He dipped his pen. He began. The number of coins collected this year was 1,243. The coins were stored in the chest. The chest is wooden. The lock is iron. The hinges creak. The coins make a dull sound. And with Jacob, the cycle did not break. It continued. It always continued. The endless history of coins and taxes filled another century. Nothing changed. Nothing ended. Nothing mattered except that it was written. And so Chapter 2 closes, not with a conclusion, but with repetition, as every year becomes another echo of the last. The records of a town did not only speak of wheat, stalls, bells, and coins. They also spoke of the roads. The roads were not special. They were not remarkable. They were simply roads. Yet the clerks wrote about them with the same patience, the same endless repetition. In the year 1600, Jacob the clerk wrote, "The main road of the town is straight. The stones are uneven. In summer, the road is dusty. In autumn, the road is muddy. In winter, the road is muddy. In spring, the road is damp." In 1601, he wrote, "The main road of the town is straight. The stones are uneven. In summer, the road is dusty. In autumn, the road is muddy. In winter, the road is muddy. In spring, the road is damp." In 1602, the exact same words were written again. The words had become formula. The years had become formula. The history had become formula. By 1605, Jacob had copied these same sentences 5 times. He made no change. He saw no need for change. The road did not change, so the words did not change. In 1606, he added, "The road has a ditch on one side." In 1607, he copied the same sentence again. In 1608, again. In 1609, again. The record stretched across pages, but the picture was always the same. A straight road, uneven stones, dust, mud, damp. The market stalls continued to be listed. The wheat continued to be counted. The coins continued to be stored. The bell continued to weigh 246 kilograms. But in these years, Jacob gave special attention to the road. He wrote about the dust in long detail. He wrote, "The dust is light. The dust is dry. The dust rises when carts pass. The dust settles when carts stop. The dust is on shoes. The dust is on clothes. The dust is on hair." This description filled one entire page in 1610. In 1611, he wrote the same sentences again. "The dust is light. The dust is dry. The dust rises when carts pass. The dust settles when carts stop. The dust is on shoes. The dust is on clothes. The dust is on hair." Another page filled. By 1612, he moved to the mud. He wrote, "The mud is thick. The mud is heavy. The mud sticks to wheels. The mud sticks to boots. The mud sticks to animals' hooves. The mud slows the carts. The mud slows the people." In 1613, the same sentences were copied again. "The mud is thick. The mud is heavy. The mud sticks to wheels. The mud sticks to boots. The mud sticks to animals' hooves. The mud slows the carts. The mud slows the people." In 1614, he wrote about the damp. He wrote, "The damp makes the stones dark. The damp makes the road soft. The damp lasts for weeks. The damp is not rain. The damp is not dry. The damp is between." In 1615, he copied the same words about damp again. By 1616, The record of the road had already filled more than 20 pages. And yet nothing new was written. Nothing new was needed. The road was the same. The dust was the same. The mud was the same. The damp was the same. The people walked the same road. The clerks wrote the same words. By 1620, Jacob wrote again. The road is straight. The stones are uneven. In summer it is dusty. In autumn it is muddy. In winter it is muddy. In spring it is damp. The years went on. 1621, 1622, 1623, 1624. Each page carried the same record. The road did not change. The record did not change. The boredom did not change. The endless description of dust and mud became the town's second history. By 1625, Jacob's records had become more about the road than about people. The book of wheat and coin still continued, but each year's entry about the road grew longer. In that year, the entry said, "The road is straight. The stones are uneven. In summer it is dusty. In autumn it is muddy. In winter it is muddy. In spring it is damp. The dust rises when wheels pass. The mud clings when boots walk. The damp lingers when rain is gone." In 1626, the same was written again, almost word for word. In 1627, Jacob repeated the details. He did not shorten them. Instead, he stretched them further. The dust is pale gray. The dust gathers on windows. The dust gathers on doors. The dust gathers on the stalls of the market. The dust gathers on bread. The dust gathers on wool. The dust gathers everywhere. In 1628, he copied the same list. The dust gathers on windows. The dust gathers on doors. The dust gathers on the stalls. The dust gathers on bread. The dust gathers on wool. The dust gathers everywhere. By 1630, he had begun to do the same for mud. The mud is deep. The mud pulls at shoes. The mud pulls at wheels. The mud pulls at carts. The mud pulls at hooves. The mud slows men. The mud slows animals. The mud slows time. In 1631, the exact same sentences were copied. In 1632, they were copied again. By 1635, the word mud had been written hundreds of times in the town records. By 1640, the word dust had been written hundreds more. The seasons passed. Each entry was the same. In 1641, the clerk wrote, "Summer, dust. Autumn, mud. Winter, mud. Spring, damp." In 1642, the same. In 1643, the same. In 1644, the same. The repetition became like a chant, an echo that filled the centuries. By 1650, a new clerk had taken over. His name was Matthias. He was young when he began, but he too learned the same rhythm. His very first entry in 1651 was, "The road is straight. The stones are uneven. In summer, dust. In autumn, mud. In winter, mud. In spring, damp." He did not invent a new style. He did not add new details. He followed the old. In 1652, he copied the same. In 1653 again. In 1654 again. Matthias filled page after page with the same sentences. By 1660, he had written the description of the road more than 10 times, always in nearly the same words. By 1665, he had expanded the section on damp. The damp lies on the stones. The damp lies on the walls. The damp lies on the doors. The damp lies on the ground. The damp lies on the wood. The damp lies on the wool. In 1666, the same description was copied word for word. In 1667 again. In 1668 again. The pages grew heavier, but the subject remained the same. By 1670, the road had been written about for more than a century in the same style. Still straight, still uneven, still dusty, muddy, and damp. The records continued, and the clerks continued, and the words continued. By 1671, Matthias began his yearly entry once more. "The road is straight. The stones are uneven. In summer, the road is dusty. In autumn, the road is muddy. In winter, the road is muddy. In spring, the road is damp. The exact words appeared again in 1672, in 1673, and in 1674. Nothing new, nothing added. By 1675, he filled another page only with the description of dust. The dust is pale. The dust is thin. The dust rises when people walk. The dust rises when carts roll. The dust settles when no one moves. The dust covers shoes. The dust covers clothes. The dust covers doors. The dust covers stalls. In 1676, the same sentences were written again. In 1677, the same. In 1678, the same. By 1680, Matthias had turned his attention once more to mud. The mud is heavy. The mud is thick. The mud sticks to boots. The mud sticks to wheels. The mud sticks to carts. The mud sticks to hooves. The mud slows men. The mud slows animals. In 1681, the identical description was copied. In 1682, the same. In 1683, the same. By 1685, the town record contained more than 100 pages on nothing but dust and mud. In 1686, Matthias returned to damp. The damp darkens the stones. The damp softens the ground. The damp lingers after rain. The damp does not vanish quickly. The damp is not dry. The damp is not wet. The damp is between. In 1687, the exact same entry appeared again. In 1688, it appeared once more. The monotony of dust, mud, and damp spread across decades. By 1690, the entry says, "The road is straight. The stones are uneven. Summer, dust. Autumn, mud. Winter, mud. Spring, damp." In 1691, the same. In 1692, the same. In 1693, the same. By 1695, Matthias was an old man. His writing slowed, but he continued, year after year, the same words. In 1696, he described dust once more in longer phrases. The dust is light. The dust is gray. The dust blows into eyes. The dust blows into mouths. The dust is bitter. The dust is dry. The dust is endless. This line, "The dust is endless," was written again in 1697, and again in 1698, and again in 1699. By the year 1700, a new century began. A new clerk replaced Matthias. His name was Elias. Elias opened his record with the same sentences that had been written for centuries before him. The road is straight. The stones are uneven. In summer, the road is dusty. In autumn, the road is muddy. In winter, the road is muddy. In spring, the road is damp. Elias, the new clerk of the 18th century, dipped his quill and began just as his predecessors had done. His first entry in 1701 said, "The road is straight. The stones are uneven. In summer, the road is dusty. In autumn, the road is muddy. In winter, the road is muddy. In spring, the road is damp." In 1702, he copied the same. In 1703, the same again. In 1704, unchanged. By 1705, Elias added extra lines about dust. The dust rises when the wind blows. The dust rises when carts roll. The dust rises when boots stamp. The dust settles when silence comes. The dust is on doors. The dust is on roofs. The dust is on wool. The dust is on bread. In 1706, he repeated the same list. In 1707, the same again. By 1710, he turned once more to mud. The mud is thick. The mud is brown. The mud sticks to hooves. The mud sticks to carts. The mud slows travel. The mud slows men. The mud slows animals. The mud slows all. In 1711, the words were written again. In 1712 again. By 1715, more than 50 entries had described nothing but mud, dust, and damp. Still, Elias continued. In 1716, he returned to damp. The damp lies on the stones. The damp lies on the ground. The damp lies on the walls. The damp lies on the stalls. The damp lies on the roofs. The damp lingers. In 1717, the same words. In 1718, the same. The monotony carried forward year after year. By 1720, Elias had filled 300 pages of near-identical writing. His hand grew slower, but he never changed style. In 1725, he wrote again. The road is straight. The stones are uneven. Summer, dust. Autumn, mud. Winter, mud. Spring, damp. The same in 1726. The same in 1727. The same in 1728. By 1730, the entry was lengthened slightly. The road is the same as before. The stones are uneven. The dust rises. The mud spreads. The damp lingers. Nothing changes. This line, nothing changes, became a phrase that Elias wrote again in 1731 and in 1732 and in 1733. By 1740, he had repeated those words so many times that the margins of the book were smudged with them. In 1750, Elias grew old. A new clerk came. His name was Johann. Johann began the same way. His first line in 1751 was exactly as Ulrich's line in 1247. The road is straight. The stones are uneven. In summer, dust. In autumn, mud. In winter, mud. In spring, damp. And thus the circle of history returned to its beginning. By 1760, Johann too had written about dust in long lines. By 1770, about mud. By 1780, about damp. Nothing changed. Nothing ended.